way back in my rookie year. You guys are probably too young for this guy, but Craig Ironhead Heyward. God bless his soul. And he was playing for Atlanta, and they were running the run and shoot. And Herm Edwards was my DB coach.
Okay.
And we're playing these guys, and Herm Edwards says, he used to call me Lynchburg. He goes, now Lynchburg, here's what's going to happen. They run what we call the Atlanta draw, and the C's are going to part. You're going to see it, and you're going to go in there. And I know you, Lynchburg. You're going to try to take him high, and don't do it with this guy, because you will come out faster than you went in. And he said, I'm urging you to go low on him. I'm urging you to tackle. I know that is not your style, but what do you do when someone tells you that? Well, I'm going to show Herm. And bad idea. Ironhead earned that nickname and it had that nickname for a reason. I felt everything in my body with that hit, and Herm was exactly right. I came in, and it was like I got rejected. And I said, man, that's a bad man right there. I never felt anything like that in my career. Ironhead Heyward.
What's up, everybody? I'm Peanut Tillman, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. And with me, as always, as my trusty co-host, Roman, I got the guns out, Harper.
They are back in the business,
yeah.
baby.
You warmed up.
No, it's really our next guest. Number one, he's a DB. So you know we're going to have a great one. Number two, it was a person that I looked up to, and he's a much bigger safety than me. So I had to make sure he knows I still can hit these weights every now and then. So
I'm trying to come back.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I actually love what he's doing, but we'll get into that.
I love what he's doing. All right, 15-year vet.
Yes.
Hall of Fame safety.
Yes.
Super Bowl champion. He is the president of football operation and the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the pod, John Lynch.
Yes.
Okay. What can go wrong, fellas? We got 3 DBs here, huh?
Well, we're not going to give up any deep balls.
No.
That's for sure. No deep shots. No deep shots.
Nothing across the middle.
There we go.
Couple peanut punches, and we're
that's
good.
It. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know we can't be too long, but I got to know, how often are you asked about being considered maybe the hardest hitting safety in NFL history? I was a hard hitter.
Yeah.
And everybody aims to be John Lynch.
Well, I appreciate that. The problem these days is the game's changed a lot.
You can't do it.
And even the players these days will watch those highlights and they'll look at me like I committed a crime or something. And, I look at them and say, guys, you don't understand. That's how we played. And that wasn't cheap. That's how you played the game. I remember I was a quarterback at Stanford for my first 3 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't until right before my season at Stanford, my junior year, I made the switch and got benched about halfway through that year, played nickel and dime, and Bill Walsh really saved my career. He talked me in. I was playing professional baseball. He talked me into coming back for my senior year. And so with Bill Walsh there, it wasn't that odd to look over and see Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott sitting on Joe's Mercedes watching us practice. And Ronnie took a liking to the way I played.
Yeah.
But then he taught me. He came out and he said, young man, you've got a gift, and you got a gift for hitting people. But here's the deal. Even in the NFL, 98% of the guys hit to the receiver or to the runner. He said the great ones hit through them. And so I want you to start visualizing you're hitting not one of them, but 4 of them. And you're trying to get all the way through to that last guy. And that really changed my career. He also told me, look, we don't want to hurt anyone, but we do want to make it hurt.
Yeah.
Because when you make it hurt on someone, you lay down the law and you let people know that for the next month, nobody will even try it in there.
That's
and
true.
so that's how we talked. And that was just kind of how the game was played. So it takes the guys a little while. Man, you used to do that? Yeah, that's how we played.
Now, have you ever given that advice to some of your safeties or linebackers or anybody else?
Absolutely. When I was broadcasting, I remember one time Dan Quinn, I was doing Falcons game. And Keanu Neal was an up-and-coming safety, and he had a gift for hitting people as well. And he said, hey, man, this guy really admires, your game. He's a guy who respects the history of the game, and I think Keanu's going to be really good. Can you talk? So I had that Ronnie Lott talk. He went and got a big fine the next day. And Dad said, what did you tell him? I said, well, I told him what Ronnie told me years ago.
So I want to talk about something that most people do not know. I don't think I realize it, and that is you ended your career playing with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like, last game was in a Patriots uniform. Number one, what was that like? And it was in a – go ahead, just break it down. I don't want to give too much away, but we did our research. I didn't know this. You also had 8 tackles in your last game.
Well, the last game was a preseason game against the Giants, preseason number 4. And what had happened, year 16, I went after year 15, I was in Denver, had 4 great years in Denver. Yeah. Mike Shanahan was terrific. And, gave me a spot when Tampa had moved on. I had my neck injury. Mike, kind of came after me in free agency, and it was humbling to know that a great coach like Mike Shanahan said, I always have wanted to coach you. I've admired the way you played, and kind of restarted my career after 11 great years in Tampa. When you have a neck injury, you don't know, will I ever play? Is anyone going to be interested? And fortunately, there were 3 or 4 teams interested, and I ended up in Denver. But year 16, after 15, Mike had this deal where he got the whole team together, and we all went bowling as kind of an end-of-the-year deal. And right there, Mike, I thought I was going to retire after year 15. Mike's a good salesman, and he talked to me, you just been to the Pro Bowl, and you earned it. I want you to come back for year 16. So I come back, and I get back, and it's not what we talked about. Mike and I were close, and you could tell it was going to be a rebuilding year, and I wasn't interested in having a rebuilding year. So I went home, and I thought I was going to be retired. And then Bill Belichick started calling every day and saying, hey, I've always wanted to coach you. I've got this idea of playing you at the linebacker position, and we're going to make nickel our base, and you're going to be the linebacker. So I said, Bill, I'm done. I told Mike Shanahan that. I appreciate your interest. I'm humbled. But I learned something about Bill Belichick, that he's pretty relentless. He called me for 2 weeks straight and finally got me to get on the plane and go visit him. After visiting him, I kind of felt the Patriot way, and I was always interested in what made them so good. And he talked me into playing. And so I went, and I would say it was a short career, Roman, because I was there. And, much like when people talk to you about, like, I remember asking people, how do you know, like, when you find your wife? Well, you'll just know. Something will be special. And sure enough, you do. I used to ask the older players who I really respected, how do you know when you're done? And they'll said, it's like finding your wife. You'll know when that time comes. The day I stepped foot on the field in New England, I just felt something. My heart wasn't there. And I've always been a guy who was so all in. Yeah. I always prided myself on being an energy giver to a building. And a lot of it, I was away from my family. We had 4 young kids, and you're going through that move that a lot of players have to. Do I move my family?
And you hadn't done it a lot.
No, and I don't want to do this alone. I'm not going someplace for 6 months on my own and missing out. So I ended up being there for about 4 weeks. But a cool story. I knew I was going to go home. I had a lot of talks with Bill, and we got really close. And I went into Bill, and Bill let me go home at one point because he said, maybe you're just homesick. Go see your family, and I'm going to hold a roster spot. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Bill kept a roster spot. They had 52 men on the roster for the first 2 weeks of the season because he thought I might come around. But I told Bill, I said, Bill, this is likely going to be my last game, but I got one question for you. Could I play this last game, and could I play it at my position? And he said, what's that? I said, safety. And he goes, I've wanted to tell you since you've been here, you're a Hall of Fame safety, but you're a horse linebacker. I butchered that. And I said, I totally agree, because that the move didn't work out, and it was more, but interesting experience. I see that every now and then you get fans coming up to you to sign cards, and it's very rare that someone's got the Patriot card.
So you have a Patriot card?
Oh, yeah, there's a Patriot card out there. I don't see them very often, but I do see them. I've got a couple Patriots jersey. I'm Irish Catholic. That plays big in New England. And I remember the day a day I decided that I was going to go home, I went in the team store and I said, just as a collector's item, let me grab a couple of these. And the guy in the store said, oh, Mr. Kraft's going to be pissed. He just ordered thousands of these. And I said, well, they're going to go on sale. And the guy was like, why? Where are you going? I said, nowhere.
You're in New England. They just finished that season. They go 18-1. They had just lost the Super Bowl to the Giants. Vince Wilfork, Rodney Harrison, Teddy Bruschi, Richard Seymour, Mike Vrabel, Gerard Mayo, Junior Seau. Yeah. What was it like being in a locker room with all those greats?
It was awesome. It was awesome. I really I got a look. I got a lens, a view of what made that team special. And, I would say I'd played at places for Tony Dungy, for Mike Shanahan, for John Gruden. It wasn't like the most upbeat, positive place in the world. It was, I think the players got really close in New England because it was tough and it was not always the most fun. It was miserable. Winning is fun though. And I think those guys knew that. It's so funny. I think Vrabel in this Super Bowl, because Vrabel was the one guy in that locker room. Junior was not there. Junior was a good friend. We're both San Diego guys. We worked out in the off seasons. Junior actually, when I came home from New England and ended up back in San Diego, Junior said, buddy, you got it all screwed up. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you went to training camp, then retired. I stay home from training camp, then I go play the last month of the season. That's how I go. But Vrabel was the one guy that would stand up to Bill in a team meeting. Bill, no, you're wrong, and everybody on the team would tell him Braves because everyone, there was that fear. But being in that room, I mean, gosh, could you imagine? I was so intrigued and I was fighting it in my spirit. And I really wanted to make it work because I thought, man, me playing next to Rodney Harrison, that would be really cool. Rodney is a guy I admired. He's a guy that I think because he played a certain way, and Rodney did some stuff on the field in piles and stuff that I think he never got his due in terms of Pro Bowls and all that. I think the guy's got one Pro Bowl. He was one of the best safeties in the league when I was playing. Yeah. I always felt it when I studied
even when
guys.
He was at San Diego too.
Oh my God, he was a fantastic player. And I think he was so mean and he didn't care what people thought of him. I think that kind of diminished. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but Rodney was there. There were some fantastic Teddy Bruschi and fantastic coaches. It was a really cool experience. Yeah.
All right, so I already talked about your hitting style, and so you gave me this great Ronnie Lott speech, which I wish he would give this speech to a lot of people. He's excellent because he's so intense. What was the hardest hit you think you've ever delivered?
I think there's one on Mark Chimura. It made it like an Adidas commercial one time. Highly illegal in today's day and age.
It is.
But that one was pretty violent. There's another one on something with tight ends. Dallas Clark.
Dude, tell him stop throwing the ball over.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Dallas Clark against when I was in Denver against the Indianapolis Colts, and I broke my thumb on the play. We played Indy the next week in the playoffs. We had to win to get in, and we knew if we won, we played Indy. So I hit Dallas pretty hard, and everybody felt like it was intended to send a message for the next week. Ended up breaking my thumb. I played the next week, but I played $75,000 with $75,000 less in my bank account because the league got me on that one, and I probably deserved it.
Okay, all right. So, who hit you the hardest?
Oh,
what's the hardest you hit?
That's easy. That's easy. Okay. So way back in my rookie year, you guys are probably too young for this guy, but Craig Ironhead Heyward. God bless his soul. And he was playing for Atlanta, and they were running the run and shoot. And Herm Edwards was my DB coach.
Okay.
And we're playing these guys, and Herm Edwards says, he used to call me Lynchburg. He goes, now Lynchburg, here's what's going to happen. They run what we call the Atlanta draw, and the C's are going to part. And they're run and shoot, 4 wide receivers out here. He's going to take his little crow hop. You're going to see it, and you're going to go in there. And I know you, Lynchburg. You're going to try to take him high, and don't do it with this guy because you will come out faster than you went in. And he said, I'm urging you to go low on him. I'm urging you to tackle. I know that is not your style, but what do you do when someone tells you that? Well, I'm going to show Herm. And bad idea. Ironhead earned that nickname and it had that nickname for a reason. I felt everything in my body with that hit, and Herm was exactly right. I came in, and it was like I got rejected. And I said, man, that's a bad man right there. I never felt anything like that in my career, Ironhead Heyward. And man, I wanted another attempt, and the guys, I mean, like, it was so bad that everybody's face was shocked, and he standing over me, all right? And I got up, I couldn't let him see me, but everything in my body was hurting. Ironhead Heyward certainly hit me harder than anybody.
That was just such a quick answer to be like, oh, that's easy.
No.
You know exactly.
Yeah, you don't forget those kind of things.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
What's yours?
The hardest I ever been hit? You know, I ran into Ernest Graham one time, and my whole right side went pretty numb. Yeah. But I didn't let him know, though. You know what I mean? I just like got up and was like, nah, bro, we good. Because he went down too. Well, because he went down too, so nobody knew. And I just used my left hand to get up. The right one was just numb, you know? And you just act like I'm tough. It's fine. I'll be okay in like 3 plays.
All right.
Cool.
How about you?
Ooh. I'd probably say Todd Johnson, my own teammate. Hit me right in the back of the head. Knocked out, concussed. Played the Jets. Leon Washington, the running back, I think from Florida. He was on top of me, and he was like, hey, he's out. Get up. And I wasn't like out, but my eyes were kind of like, I had like that zombie look. Uh-huh. And I hear everyone yelling, like, hey, get up. But I had no control over my body. I couldn't move. I was just like, oh my God, that hurt. What happened? I'm stuck. And then slowly your brain's like, you can move your hands and limbs. And I was like, shh. I don't like that feeling. What was that? Yeah. Hurt me. Concussed. And I went back in the game.
Yeah.
That's football back in the day.
All right. Back in the day.
All right, John. I want to ask you about the year 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is something I didn't know about you. All right.
It's a good year.
You were drafted in the second round by the Florida Marlins in the Major League Baseball draft.
Yeah.
And that was the second pick that they had ever had in their organization's history. I did figure out who was the first one, but I don't expect you to know that.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Charles Johnson, the catcher.
There we go.
Yep.
Charles Johnson, the catcher.
Yep.
That's good. And I did not know, like, what was that like for you to be, because I know Bill Walsh convinced you to come back and to keep playing. Because you were like, no, I'm going the baseball route. Then you get drafted, and he actually convinces you to come back after that. But I want to talk about the baseball part of it first.
Yeah. So I went to Stanford as a baseball player, and Stanford had a great track record of doing it. The head coach for the baseball team, Mark Marquez, just passed last week. Unbelievable man. One of those coaches that is impactful beyond what you ever understood. Like when I was coaching my kids in their sports, he used to say, get there, then rest. He wanted you, if you were playing right field, he wanted you sprinting out to right field, old school, and sprinting in. You didn't start jogging before you got to the dugout at Stanford baseball. And that's exactly how I coached my kids, whether it be my boys or my girls in baseball. So impactful, but a really cool guy who had played football, baseball himself. And Stanford was used to it. Elway had done it. Toby Gerhardt did it later. A lot of guys had done it at Stanford. So they had a track record, and I went and did that, and I was a highly recruited football player, but baseball is kind of measurable. Like if you can throw hard, you're going to get drafted pretty high, and that's what I did. I had a live arm.
How hard were you throwing?
I could throw 95 back then, which was pretty. Now a lot of people do it. There, if you were touching 95, that was you were doing something. So I threw 95, and I played in the outfield most of the time, but I was a closer. I only threw 20 innings, and the Marlins come and grabbed me after my junior year in the second round. And my heart, I knew I loved football, but at some point you're like, well, I got to go where I'm wanted. And the Marlins really wanted me, and they felt like I could really have a major league future. And so that's where I was going. And it was after my first year playing baseball. At some point, Bill Walsh gets the job. Denny Green, who was our coach at Stanford, takes the Minnesota Vikings. Bill Walsh is named the head coach at Stanford football, and he picks up the phone and calls me. Thought my guys were messing with me. Bill Walsh, kind of a big deal. And I told you guys I got benched my junior year, but I did play a lot and I made a lot of plays. And Coach Walsh called and he said, "Hey, John, I've taken this job. I've spent the last 2 weeks watching all our players, evaluating our team, and I think you were our best defensive player." And I was like, "Coach, I got benched." Willie Shaw was my coach. I said, "Willie benched me." And he goes, "I've talked to Willie, and Willie knew you were his best player, but he had to shake it up. You were trying to win games, and he felt like he used you in a role that was really effective while you were learning how to play the position." But Bill said, like, "I know you're coming home after spring training. Could I catch you for a meeting? And I think I can show you some things." So sure enough, you're not going to turn down a meeting with Bill Walsh. No. And I went and met with Bill Walsh, and I talked about this in my Hall of Fame speech. You realize what makes certain people special. Bill took the time he wasn't just going to tell me, he was going to show me. And, that year, my junior year, made some plays. And so he shows me sacking a quarterback, and then he shows me Ronnie Lott doing the same thing. And he had scoured the tape. Shows me getting an interception, and then Ronnie Lott doing the same thing. He shows me making a hit, and he goes, "John, I'm here to tell you," and I don't know if he was being a salesman or if he really believed it. He said, "John, I'm telling you, and I know you got benched and all that, you can be a Pro Bowl safety in the NFL. And what do you think?" And he had me like that. And he had me because he showed me. Had he just told me, even though it was Bill Walsh, I wouldn't have believed him. I told the Marlins, I hadn't signed my contract yet. I told the Marlins, "You know what, I'm going." They were not happy. They thought they were drafting me in the second round because I was going to play for them. And but I followed my heart, and it was a great lesson if you follow your heart. And I'll forever be grateful to Coach Bill Walsh for that, because I went and my senior year really took off. I had an outstanding year, and the rest is history.
I mean, so in June 15th, 1992, you started your first game for the Erie Sailors. All right. I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
It's out there. So I just want to let you know that. I mean, it was crazy because I'm like John Lynch at pitcher. I'm like, wow.
I'm that really going that heat. Still pissed because that was a strike. And the guy called 7 straight balls. I could not throw a strike. And every one of them, it was crazy. I throw a pitch, they'd come out, grab my hat, my jersey. The Hall of Fame was there.
Yeah.
Because even though we were in Erie, Pennsylvania, it was the first pitch in the organization's history.
Right.
And so the hall was there, and it was big pomp and circumstance. It was really fun. But the 7 straight balls was not fun.
Okay. See, that was not there. So, and then that later on that year, you had a great game, the Notre Dame year, your senior game, where I think you also made a highlight where you hit Jerome Bettis too. So
yeah,
the writing was on the wall, or who John Lynch was going to be.
Yeah, I think in all my years of playing football, that might have been my best game. And the weird thing is, the good Lord blessed me with a hard head, and I'd never, like, you guys know, concussions were different. Concussions, you were like out.
Yeah.
And I only had one of those in my entire football career, and it was at Notre Dame that day. A guy named Todd Norman. He pulled out on a sweep, and I'll never forget, he didn't hit me that hard, but he just grazed me here. Next thing you know, I wake up and our team doc is, one of those, where am I? had never had that, never had it in the NFL. They take me in the locker room, they hide my helmet, and all of a sudden I'm starting to come back, and the doc starts giving me, but he doesn't allow me to come back. My dad, old school guy, great dad, loved me. He had a cup of coffee in the NFL, but my dad was behind our bench at NBA or in South Bend. And my dad says, "Get your ass back in the game. Get your helmet and get your ass back in the game." And the doctor's going, "Who is that?" I said, "That's my dad." And sure enough, I listened to my dad. I was taught to grab my helmet. I ran on the field. And the doc almost ran on the field. I went on to play one of the greatest games I've ever played. And, there is a play in there where I got the bus and the ball came loose.
Yeah.
It was a real fun game.
Too, to seal it,
they were a hell of a team, and we got them. And the funny thing is, Bill Walsh, he did not care for Lou Holtz. And, really? and I think it all stemmed from Bill had broadcast for NBC. And when they go do production meetings, Lou was the king of Notre Dame, and he would make Bill Walsh wait in the lobby. And finally, I'd ask these guys, what is it with Bill? And and Lou, and he goes, Bill Walsh doesn't like waiting. This was Keena Turner who told me. Bill Walsh doesn't like waiting, and Lou used to make him wait for like an hour, and Bill remembered that, and he wanted to bury Notre Dame, and we did.
That's funny. All right, my last question for you is: you just finished your 9th season as a GM. You were promoted to president of football ops a couple of years ago. You got 4 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowl appearances. 2019, you won Executive of the Year. How would John Lynch grade himself as a GM?
Well, I think that's still incomplete, and I'll tell you the hard thing, fellas. And it was part of the draw what brought me to the Niners. It is such a tremendous. When I was playing, everybody knew that's the place. They do it first class. They do it right. And, I was in college and younger then, but in the 80s, they won 4 of those things. And so the coolest thing is all those guys still live there. But you talk about a tough standard. These guys expect championships. And so we've done a lot of great things. And I'm blessed to work with a tremendous head coach and Kyle Shanahan. We came in together. We've had each other's back since day one. He's unbelievable. He's a tremendous coach, and we've been fortunate to have great players around us. And this is a players' league. We both understand that, so we've been very fortunate. But I won't grade myself because we haven't won one of those, and that is the standard at that place. And we got to win one soon because I don't want to do this forever. I'm having fun though. It is, I broadcasted and I loved it, and I really did. The NFL Fox was great to me. But I kind of missed a scoreboard. I missed competing, and at the end of the day, seeing, all right, you won, you lost, and it's busy. It's a lot, the job, but I love competing, and I love watching the Fred Warners, the George Kittles, the McCaffreys, the Trent Williams, the Kyle Juszczyks. We've been blessed to be around some tremendous players. I'm leaving a lot out, but those guys make it really fun to come to work and continue to pursue our dreams.
Thank you, John. You got to get out of here. But man, you just said this, 30 seconds. Yeah. In 30 seconds, you need to answer this. Because I'm doing what you were doing, right? Yeah. Working on the TV side of it. I did it, and I like what I'm doing because I didn't want the wins and losses to affect me as much as it used to. Yeah. At what point did you get that urge back for you? Because you said I got back into it because I missed the wins and losses.
So I'll tell you, I kind of got pulled into it, and I played my last years, other than that New England experience, really in Denver. And we had decided to live, our family, in Denver, always with a home base in San Diego. So I was around John Elway a lot. We had a Stanford connection. He was about 10 years ahead of me. We had played for the same high school coach. And John was like a big brother to me, always really good to me. And when I was living in Denver, we were playing some golf and whatnot. And John jumped into the president of football. And John said, he used to call me Johnny Lynch. Johnny Lynch, I'm new into this, and I don't know all these people. I'm going to give them a chance to show me who they are, the scouts and everything. But I need some people, and I know you've never done this, but I respect your eye on football. I need some people who I trust to help me. And I was like, you going to pay me? He said, no, I'm not going to pay you. But it's going to help you in your broadcast career. And so John used to have me like in his first draft, why don't you watch the safeties and give me grades on them? And, my parents taught me if you're going to do something, you do it to the best of your abilities. Yeah. And so I had no idea what I was doing on reports, but I took a lot of pride. And John was shocked when I gave him my first year's worth of evaluations. He said, Johnny, these are really good. You ought to consider doing something like this. So that's the first time it got into my thoughts. Every year he'd give me a little more till I think the third year I helped him, he brought me in and I sat in their draft meetings in Denver. And that's when I started getting hooked. But I said, I won't do this unless it's a unique opportunity. I thought maybe with the San Diego Chargers, the Bucks where I played, and then kind of a weird circle of events. I had broadcast Kyle Shanahan a lot the year they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And I thought he was the best offensive coordinator in football that year. They were the number one offense. And I said something on the air one day in the divisional playoff against the Seahawks. I said, if you're an owner out there, I hear about Kyle, that he's hard to get along with. He can be too demanding, But if I'm a owner, I'm hiring this guy as my head coach. And Jed York heard that, texted me, and he said, I'm trying to. And so I had a pretty good idea, talking about trying to hire Kyle. I had a pretty good idea that he'd end up there. And there was like this 2-week period where I was going to bed and I didn't know. Something was on my mind. My wife said, I know you. Something's on your mind. What is it? And I didn't even know myself. And one day I woke up and Kyle was, for the first time I saw it, rumored to be going to San Francisco. And I called Kyle and I said, hey, man, congrats. It's been tremendous, working with you. You've given me great access and time. I've learned a lot of football. I hope you have. And if anything, I've been stimulated. And out of the blue, I didn't even plan to say this. I said, hey, I understand you may get that Niners job. And he goes, I think I might. And I think it's the one I'm going to take. And I said, hey, man, if you're looking for a GM, no, before that, he said, I am, but I'm really struggling to find a GM. My dad told me it's critical to have someone you really, really trust. And out of my mouth came, how about me? And Kyle said, why would you do that? He said it in other words, but why would you do that? You've got a great life. Like, do you understand all that goes into that? And I said, man, I didn't even plan on telling you that. He calls me back 2 days later. He goes, I can't sleep now. Would you really consider doing it? I think you'd be outstanding. And we started having conversations. And then he told me to fly up and see this guy named Jed. I didn't know I was going to take it. And that's the story. So it kind of came out of nowhere. It found me more than me finding it. And it's a lot of fun. Broadcasting was great. So I think, you do bring a lot of value, guys like you, because you're helping educate people about our game. But I did. Something was calling me, and like I talked about earlier with football in college, I've always tried to follow my heart. My heart led me back to this, and 10 years later, I'm happy I did it.
That's awesome.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks, John.
Thank you guys. Yeah.